Hey guys, welcome back. So first thing off, you may hear my son fussing or hollering or just talking in the background. He's just shy of 16 months and he's very loud and he is well overdue for a nap today, so he's very fussy. However, I want to say thanks for tuning back in to my YouTube channel. Today's video is not going to be gun related, but um, yeah, my last video, the after action report for the long range shooting with an AUG, I did mention that I wanted to, make some videos for, discussing some experiences I've had in life. And that's what I want to do today. So today I want to share a lesson with you that I learned through an experience. Now this was probably the hardest lesson I've ever learned. And this is a great video for headphones only. So like if you're like washing dishes or, whatever, you're doing. I don't know if you want to listen to me while you're washing dishes, but yeah, whatever you're doing, just pop in some headphones and listen. But so uh, I, anybody that knows me like personally knows this. After I finished college, I had the opportunity to do a season of commercial fishing in Alaska. Now, I was on a salmon seining vessel. It was at the time it was named the Kelly Girl. It's been sold since then to somebody else, and they probably renamed it. But yeah, so I had the chance to go do a season of commercial fishing. Now, a lot of people, I tell that and they're like, "Oh, that's cool, man." Like, yeah, it is. It was. And it's an experience that I wouldn't trade for anything. And for like the first year after I got back from Alaska, that's like all I talked about. And some of my friends, that if you watch this, you're like, "Oh, here goes Trav talking about Alaska again." But I just wanted to share an experience and a lesson that I learned. So yeah, I left Charlotte and flew up to Alaska in May, and it was like going back in time. Like, now the man that I was fishing for, the captain of the vessel, he has one of the nicer houses in Homer, and even still, it was like, it's just it. It was like, well, now he's like completely renovated it, but it's like his neighbor didn't have running water, and he had an outhouse. He had a toilet on the inside of his house too, but he also had an outhouse, and for a while, that's what they used, was an outhouse, and this was like 2016. It's like stepping back in time 50, 60 years when you go to Alaska. But life is harder up there. But however, I would recommend, if you ever have the opportunity to go to Alaska, because it is the last frontier, and the people are different up there. There's a different mindset. I feel like the people are a little bit more resilient and down to earth than they tend to be in the lower 48. But anyway, so on the fishing vessel, what we're doing is we're fishing for salmon. And my job on the vessel, I was a deckhand. And what I did on deck was I was the lead stacker. So on a salmon seining net, a salmon seining vessel, you have a net. You fish with a net. And the net can, it varies in different height. It can be different, like I think 25 feet tall or, taller, shorter, whatever. But they all are built sort of the same way. Now, you have the net, the webbing, which is what the fish swims into, but at the top of it you have a line of corks. It's styrofoam floats. That's to keep the top of the net at the surface of the water. And the bottom of the net has a thick line that has lead weights braided into it. That's to make sure that the net sinks and that the net spreads out in the water and maintains its shape. So that way the fish don't just swim under it or swim over it. They, the salmon, they stop. They school up. They see the net and they see they can't go forward and they school up. And then you close the net and you haul the net on board. Now what I did was I was a lead stacker. So I had to pull the heavy part of the net, the bottom of it. The net will come up the starboard side of the boat, it'll go through the block, and it'll all come down in one big pile on the deck, and you have to separate it in order to be able to put it back out. So the cork stacker, they take the top of the net and they take the cork line and they're trying to stack the corks on the port side of the boat. They're pulling the cork line to the port side of the vessel, what I would do was take the lead line and pull it to the starboard side of the vessel. No, my captain prided himself on having the heaviest lead line on any boat, and for every 1 foot of lead line, it was 10 pounds of lead weight. And the net is a 1/4 mile long, so that's a lot of weight. Those nets are very, very heavy, and it was my job to rip that net to the starboard side of the boat as fast as possible, because you can't take 45 minutes to get your net hauled back in. You want to get your net hauled back in as fast as possible, because if you're fast, you can make another set. You can set your net back out again. You can set your net out more times in a day. More times you set your net out in a day, more fish you catch. More fish you catch, more money you make. Because up there, as a commercial fisherman, you don't get paid unless you catch fish. Simple as that. If you catch a lot of fish, you make a lot of money. If you don't catch a lot of fish, you don't make any money. It's just the way it is. No, that job, it's a very physically demanding job. You got to be very quick. You gotta constantly be paying attention to what's going on. If there's like a log coming down the net, or if there's like a fish called an Irish lord, I don't even know what the actual like scientific taxonomy name for it is. We just call them Irish lords. They'd be full of spines, and when they would come up in the net, they're like, their spines are out and they're mad, and they'd be swinging back and forth, and if one of those spines, it'll punch right through your rain gear. And they have like a venom in them that's not like, it's not gonna kill you, but it just burns and it stings, and their spines are really dirty, and you can get a nasty infection too. That happens a lot. And worse than the Irish lords is the ever-present threat of jellyfish. Now, there are a lot of jellyfish in the northern Pacific Ocean. They're not like jellyfish in like Australia or something, where like it's gonna kill you if it touches you. They just hurt. Now I've had, as a lead stacker, so when the net is coming up the starboard side of the boat, I'm right here. So I'm under the net. And as the net's coming up, these jellyfish are just getting shredded by the net. And so I'm constantly having jellyfish fall on me, like constantly. So you wear rain gear, you have a hood, and you always wear a baseball cap too. And I would just have jellyfish constantly. So one thing you learn really fast is never, for any reason, ever look up. Because the minute you look up, you're gonna get jellyfish in your mouth, in your nose, in your eyes. And the worst place that I ever had jellyfish was I got a sting on the very tip of my nose. And I've had it in my eyes and my mouth, and it hurts. It really hurts in your eyes. But on your nose, man, I sneezed for like 45 minutes, and I had the most like nasty splitting migraine after that. But yeah, that's all on a normal day. That's like, the weather can be, the sea can be flat as glass, perfectly calm, and you're still dealing with all that. Now you add in nasty weather, and it gets even worse. So up there in northern Pacific, the weather can change really fast, and it can get really nasty. Like what we call a hurricane down here in the south is like average summer weather in Alaska. I'm talking like below 45, 50 mile an hour wind. Like 7-8 foot swells. That's completely normal, and you fish in that. You fish in that. You don't just. Well, my captain did. Some don't, but my captain prided himself on being a Cape fisherman. So we were always out in nasty weather. That was never a reason to not fish for my captain. So we fished in nasty weather a lot. Now, getting to the point of the video, there was one stretch of time. There's a period up there in about the middle of the summer that the weather was nasty for like 8 days in a row. It's, you fish from sun up to sunset in Alaska, and during the summer, and in summertime in Alaska, the sun comes up at 3 in the morning, and it never really goes down like it does here in the south, but like about 11 o'clock at night, it dips below the horizon, and it'll stay there till 3, don't come back up. So that whole time you're fishing from 3, 4 in the morning to like 11:30 at night. And it's hard. And doing that's hard in good weather. That's hard fishing. But doing that in nasty weather, oh man, it's not just hard physically. It gets to be mentally exhausting. Because like even the simplest, smallest tasks in nasty weather are so hard. Like, think about it for a second. you're on a vessel that is undulating up and down on the waves, and you be rising 8 feet, falling 8 feet, rising 8 feet, falling 8 feet, and that's if your bow is to the wave, you just go up and down, in a linear motion. That's okay. That ain't that bad. You get used to that. Now it's whenever the waves are hitting you on the starboard or on the port side, when the vessel is undulating side to side. That's whenever like just getting up and walking to the other side of the room is difficult. And like we fished in that. And there was one stretch, like I said, I think it was like 8 days the weather was nasty and it was crappy. And everybody gets annoyed. Everybody gets tired of that because you're not getting much sleep. You're working as hard as you can all day, moving this heavy lead line, just ripping it to the starboard side of the boat as fast as you can go. And then you add on to that, like you can't even go to the bathroom normally. Like we had a fire on our main engine, on our generator, so we lost like our electrical power, so we lost the use of our toilet. We stepped on land once a week. So our solution was to keep a 5-gallon bucket in the shower and go to the bathroom in that 5-gallon bucket. Now, when you're on 8-foot waves and you're trying to poop in a 5-gallon bucket, in the shower, you have to like put one hand here and one hand on this wall in the shower and just pin yourself to the wall while you're on this bucket, because that bucket's going to slide around in that shower quite easily in that kind of waves. And if you don't pin yourself, you're going to fall over, and that whatever's in that bucket's going to come out. It happened to me. Okay, so I'm speaking from experience. That just for like 16, 17 hours a day, it just takes such a toll on you mentally. And it was taking a toll on me mentally. I was miserable. I was in a bad attitude all the time. I hated my life. I hated being in Alaska. I was jealous of like the birds and the seagulls I saw flying around, because I was like, they got it made. They don't have to be on the top of the top of the ocean. They don't have to be in this nasty weather. I was just in a bad attitude, and I was sick and tired of it. Basically, I wasn't. You can't quit, but I was so tired of it, and I was miserable. I was really miserable. I hated my life. I really did hate it. And then and one day, we wake up. It's like 3:30 in the morning. It's like nasty weather outside. We know it's gonna be nasty weather again. And we're making our first set at 4 in the morning, and the sun's just kind of starting to come up, and we're already on like 4 or 5 foot waves, and we just know it's gonna be a crappy day. And that first set, we start hauling in the gear, and I get through the first part of the net, and I'm sitting there thinking, while I'm working, I'm like, man, everybody back home is like in bed, and they're like safe, and they're not out here in the nasty weather, and they are, they're gonna get up and they're gonna have their day, and they're never gonna worry about anything. And then it dawned on me, I'm like, you know what, Trav? Yeah, they are safe and in bed, and they're gonna get up and they're gonna go to their boring day job, and they're gonna like never think about what it means to be alive, and they're not gonna face any adversity. And I don't say this to say that I thought that I was better than other people, but it dawned on me that the problem was in my head. Like I can't control the weather, and no amount of being pissed off is gonna make the weather any better. Because if it could, we'd have had good weather all the time. But no amount of being angry or upset is ever going to make the weather any better. And then it dawned on me, because we used to, like, when we come to port once a week, we go to Larsen Bay, and we would tie up next to this boat called the Dreamer. And we would tie up to him so we could walk across this deck to climb the ladder to go up to, take our once a week shower. But this guy, the captain, he's retired now. His name is Dreamer Dave. Dave Densmore is his name. He's an amazing poet. But on the door to his cabin, he had a sticker that said, "Attitude makes the difference." And I must have walked past that sticker 100 times while, back and forth, doing various errands, to and fro, and must have seen that sticker 100 times or more, because I I knew like, oh, there's Dave, there's Dreamer Dave, there's the Dreamer, there's that sticker. Attitude makes the difference. It took me being put into a situation that I had no control over. It took me being put into a situation wherein I was completely miserable to really understand what that meant. As I said before, no amount of being mad is going to control the weather. It's going to change weather. But what I learned was that no matter what is happening to me, no matter what's happening to you, you can control your attitude. You choose your attitude. It's that simple. Because my captain used to tell me all the time, you got a bad attitude. Now, I had never really worked with somebody that would just tell me that straight out, like, your attitude sucks and you need to change it. It took me like, it was more than just like me realizing that my attitude was bad. Like, for the rest of that day, after I realized, like, I'm out here taking advantage of a once in a lifetime opportunity, I literally had to like fight in my mind. Like, I would be mad. Like we'd set out and like the net would start coming up and like a bag of jellyfish would like swing and like hit me, and I would be mad. I'd be like, I hate this place. I hate this job. But like, I'd have to take that thought and like through force of will, and it was a gargantuan force of will. I had to like put that out of my mind. Like, no, I'm not going to let myself hate this job. I'm not going to let myself be mad at my captain for fishing in this weather. I'm not going to be mad at the cork stacker. I'm not going to be mad. I'm not going to be in a bad attitude. And you know what? For an entire day, I literally had to fight my mind. But at the end of that day, even though the weather sucked, I felt better. I was like, I feel better. I can sleep. I don't have anxiety. I feel better. And then it dawned on me what that sticker meant. Attitude makes the difference. And it does. It really, truly does make the difference. And attitude up there on a fishing vessel, man, if you got a guy who even sucks at his job, but if he has a good attitude, he is better than somebody who is good at their job but has a nasty attitude all the time. Because, from May to like the end of September, I was never more than 48 foot away from the same 4 people, except for once a week when we kept the Sabbath and we went to land. I was never more than 48 foot away from the same 4 people. And then when anybody gets a bad attitude, it affects the other people around them negatively. It brings the other people down. It makes, it can turn an environment just on its head and make it somewhere that nobody wants to work. Make it really miserable, And I learned that, like I said, attitude is what makes the difference. And that was to this day, that was probably the hardest lesson I learned, because I had to learn it through a gargantuan effort on my part, but I also had to learn it by being put in a situation wherein I had no control. Being put in a situation wherein I was absolutely powerless to change it, but also a situation where I was expected to perform a task quickly and correctly, regardless of the circumstances that were around me. And I look back on, I'm not saying I implement that perfectly in my day-to-day life, because sometimes I'm like, man, my job sucks, or this sucks, this is happening to us. But like, for the most part, I've learned that like, no matter what happens to you, you are in charge of how you react to it. And I don't say that to be pretentious. I don't say that to, to make you think that I have all these answers to life's questions. I don't. Because, man, it sucked to learn that lesson. But I'm glad I learned it. And I wanted to share that with you guys today. I wanted to say thank you for tuning in to my YouTube channel. I want to say stay tuned, because I'll have a couple other videos probably along these lines that I could talk about my fishing trip in Alaska for a long time. Because I learned it was one of the most impactful, transformative periods in my life. And it is something that, while it was hard and at the time it sucked and I really didn't like it, it's an experience that I wouldn't trade for anything. So guys, stay tuned. We've got another video on the Og coming up as usual. I've got to make a video about the Walther PDP, and I got a Saiga that I need to get converted. That I want to make a video about that. And yeah, appreciate you guys. Any feedback you have for me, please feel free to leave it in the comment section. I do read all my comments because I don't get like thousands and thousands and thousands of them, so I have time to read them all. But yeah, appreciate you guys. So if you would like, subscribe, and comment down below.